Back to chapter 9 on China. I'll start there. Actually, I'll start with India. Let's see, chapter 9. Yeah, actually starts with India. Okay. Which religion wound up, in the long run, becoming the dominant religion of India? In the long run. Hinduism. They had fierce competition from whom? Buddhism. India, were true or false, were they able to remain united during the time period we're studying, or were they divided? They're divided. And folks, if you study comparative history, this is important. Some people have been able to unite and stay united. Some have only been able to unite for a short time. Europeans, for instance, the Mediterranean world united for about, 300 or 400 years under Rome, and have never been able to unite since. India was never able to unite except when the outsiders united them. Greece was divided during this period of its heyday. One country, though, that did remain united was China, but they had their problems. Vietnam was divided during much of its history and ruled by outsiders. Korea was divided during much of its history. Japan, even though they fought among themselves, they've had a tendency, a tradition of remaining united. Again, some people remain united, some split apart. And historians, if we knew why people would remain united, well, one big factor, folks, seems to be either a common language, first of all, common language, or a common religion, or at least, I might say, a common philosophy. People who stay united have something in common that keeps them from just drifting apart. Now, China went through a period of disunity. Oh, yes. Right after the fall of the Han Dynasty, they went through a period called the Era of Six Dynasties, but they came back together again and have stayed together to this day. All right. What advantage did Islam have in India over the Indians? They had one big military advantage we talked about.
Horses, right?
Horses, yeah. The Islamic people were horsemen. And let's see. Who was the conqueror who conquered and built up a big empire in the northwest side of India?
Tamerlane.
Tamerlane, known as Tamerlane, or Tamerlane. Built up a really huge empire. Between the Hindus and Muslims, which one of them eat beef and which one does not? Hindus do not eat beef. Muslims do. All right. What famous city, now famous, was buried deep in the jungles and was finally discovered by some European, but it was a really, really magnificent city until it was abandoned about 500 or 600 years ago. What city are we talking about?
Angkor.
Angkor. Yeah, Angkor Wat. The people in this part of the world have tended to adopt what religion? The civilized people, it is, have tended to adopt what religion? Buddhism. The uncivilized can be lumped together into a term we call animism. The civilized have tended to be Buddhist. Even though in modern times this area has been taken over by Islam. peoples in the world up to 1500, which group was the most inventive? Chinese. What is the main crop that the Chinese tend to grow? Rice. And they introduced rice growing into Korea, Japan, and Vietnam. Mongolia is too dry. They can't grow the rice very well. Let's see. What is the main religion of Japan? Yeah, they do have some religion. Everybody has some, generally everybody has some. Shinto. Let's see. Who is one of the greatest conquerors of all time, who started out in Mongolia and built an empire that included most of the Far East? Genghis Khan. All right, when Genghis Khan conquered, China was under which dynasty? The Song dynasty. Yeah, the Song dynasty, and I have referred to them as being a somewhat socialistic dynasty, a dynasty that just simply was wealthy, but did not like the idea of warfare. I mean, warfare is messy. Besides, it's for the primitive people, and we are too civilized to fight, and bang, they got conquered. Genghis Khan and his Mongolians used what weapon? I mean, I know they had mounted cavalry, but what else did they use? Gunpowder. Who taught the Mongolians how to use gunpowder? The Chinese. And the Mongolians wound up using it against them. Let's see. What were Chinese three main religions during this time? They had three. The three main religions during the time period covered in this chapter. They had three. Confucius, Taoism, and otherwise called Taoism, and the other one was Buddhism. Competition with Taoism and Buddhism forced Confucianism to do what? Become more. What was Confucianism lacking all along?
Oh, the practice, like a certain practice. Wait, no.
More spiritual. More, in other words, become more of a religion. At first, Confucius, we don't even know if Confucius himself even believed there was a God. And his religion was very much philosophical. Well, as time went on, he became a deity, somewhat of a deity, and his religion became just that, a religion. More spiritual than it had been. Neo-Confucianism, much more spiritual than it had been originally. Now, I did mention this, I'm going to mention it again. The philosophers, I'm trying to look up, anyway, there's a philosopher named Hu Shi who believed that the material world was located between, human beings lived in a world between the spiritual and the material. That there was material and there was spiritual with humanity in between. And humanity was the link between the material and the spiritual. Chu Si was his philosophy. Was a philosopher's name. And then there was Yang Wangming. Believed that the mind and the universe were a single unit. I did some research on him over the weekend. And folk, I'm not trying to push his philosophy in any way, but he believed that you were born with the innate knowledge of what was right or wrong. I mean, everybody knew right from wrong the moment they were born, and you didn't have to learn it. In other words, it was in your mind. Right or wrong was a state of mind. He also believed that you never had any knowledge unless you acted upon it. The idea that you can know something, before his time, he believed, well, you might know what to do and not do it. Yang Wangming believed, well, hey, if you didn't do what you knew to do, then you never learned anything. You hadn't learned until in other words, unless learning was followed up by action, learning had not taken place.